The subway hummed as it barreled through the dark tunnels, its metallic wheels screeching against the tracks. I sat alone in the last car, watching the intermittent lights flash by, casting eerie shadows on the walls. My stomach growled, a constant reminder that I hadn't eaten all day. But as the subway continued its journey, a familiar sign came into view. Substance Stuff Fast Food Delights, it read. I had seen the sign many times during my daily commute, but I had never dared to venture into the dingy, dimly lit subway station where the fast food joint was located. Today, however, my hunger outweighed my apprehension. I stood up from my seat, clutching the strap of my bag tightly, and made my way to the rear exit of the subway car. The doors hissed open, and I stepped out onto the deserted platform. The air was damp and chilly, sending shivers down my spine. I glanced around, my eyes adjusting to the dimness. The flickering fluorescent lights above cast a sickly yellow glow, giving the station an otherworldly appearance. The smell of stale air and something unidentifiable lingered, making my stomach churn even more. I followed the flickering arrows that pointed toward the direction of the fast food joint. The walls were covered in layers of grime and graffiti, and every step I took seemed to echo in the desolate station. The floor tiles were cracked and uneven, causing me to stumble a few times. The feeling of being watched settled over me, and I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. Finally, I reached the entrance of Substance Stuff. The neon sign above buzzed faintly, casting an eerie green light on the counter and the menu board behind it. A bell jingled as I entered, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. The place was empty, save for a man behind the counter. He looked up at me with a half-hearted smile, his eyes tired and bloodshot. "Welcome," he muttered, his voice hoarse. "What can I get you?" I hesitated for a moment, the unsettling ambience making me second-guess my decision to eat here. But my hunger got the best of me, and I ordered a turkey sub with all the fixings. The man nodded and turned to the sandwich assembly line. As he worked, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about this place. The walls seemed to close in on me, and the silence was heavy, almost suffocating. When my sandwich was ready, the man placed it on the counter, and I handed him some money. He took it with a robotic motion and muttered the total before returning my change. I turned to leave, eager to escape the oppressive atmosphere. But just as I reached the door, a voice called out from behind me. "Wait," the man said, his voice urgent. "You forgot your extra." I turned back, confusion etched on my face. He was holding a small plastic container, the contents hidden beneath a lid. I hadn't ordered anything extra, and I told him as much. He simply shrugged and pushed the container toward me. "Take it. On the house," he said, his gaze unwavering. Reluctantly, I picked up the container and gave him a half-hearted smile. As I left the fast food joint, I felt his eyes on my back, a sensation that sent a shiver down my spine. Back on the platform, I leaned against the graffiti-covered wall, my heart still racing from the encounter. I opened the container, expecting to find some kind of side dish. But when I lifted the lid, the contents made my blood run cold. Inside was a single blood-red cherry tomato, its skin glistening in the dim light. I felt a knot of unease form in the pit of my stomach. Why had he given me this strange offering? What did it mean? I stared at the tomato for a moment, my mind racing with thoughts of returning it and demanding an explanation. But something held me back. A morbid curiosity, perhaps, or a growing sense that I was being drawn into something I couldn't understand. With a heavy sigh, I closed the container and slipped it into my bag. I had half a mind to throw it away, to rid myself of this disturbing reminder of a place I wished I'd never entered. But instead, I found myself keeping it, a strange feeling of connection forming between me and that lone tomato. The subway arrived just as I was lost in thought, its doors sliding open with a hiss. I stepped in, finding a seat in the nearly empty car. The familiar hum of the train was now accompanied by an unsettling feeling that I was being watched. I glanced around, my heart racing as I realized I was alone in the car. A chill ran down my spine as the train continued its journey through the dark tunnels. The lights flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows on the walls. My mind raced with thoughts of the man at the fast food joint and the inexplicable gift he had given me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pulled into something beyond my comprehension, something that defied reason and logic. As the subway pulled into the next station, I noticed a figure standing on the platform. It was a man, dressed in a worn-out suit, his features obscured by the shadows. He held a small plastic container in his hand, identical to the one I had received. My heart pounded in my chest as he locked eyes with me, a chilling smile spreading across his face. Without thinking, I stood up and rushed to the nearest exit. The doors slid open, and I stumbled onto the platform, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I glanced around, but the man was nowhere to be seen. The platform was empty, the station devoid of life. The air was heavy, with an oppressive silence that seemed to press down on me. I walked quickly, my footsteps echoing in the desolate station. The flickering lights above seemed to mock me, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. My heart raced as I turned a corner, the fast food joint coming into view. As I approached, a sinking feeling settled in my chest. The neon sign was no longer buzzing with its sickly green light. Instead, it flickered erratically, casting an uneven glow that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The windows were dark, and the entrance was shrouded in darkness. It was as if the place had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a void of emptiness. I hesitated, my mind reeling with a mixture of fear and confusion. I wanted to turn and run, to escape this nightmarish place and never look back. But something compelled me forward, an insatiable curiosity that refused to be ignored. With trembling hands, I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The interior was even darker than before, the air heavy with a palpable tension. The counter was empty, the man nowhere to be seen. The sandwich assembly line stood still, the silence broken only by the faint sound of my own breathing. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. No answer. I took a tentative step forward, my heart pounding in my chest. The air seemed to grow colder, and the sense of being watched intensified. My eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of movement. And then I saw it. On the counter, illuminated by the faint light from the flickering sign, sat a small plastic container. My breath caught in my throat as I approached it, the feeling of dread intensifying with every step. With shaking hands, I lifted the lid. Inside was a single cherry tomato, its skin a deep, blood-red hue. It glistened in the dim light, a grotesque reflection of the nightmare I had stumbled into. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation, but reason seemed to slip through my fingers like water. And then, a sound echoed through the darkness. A soft, almost imperceptible sound, like footsteps on the cracked tiles. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned toward the source of the noise. In the shadows, a figure emerged, its features obscured by the darkness. I stumbled back, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The figure stepped into the pale light, revealing a face that was at once familiar and yet utterly foreign. It was the man from the fast food joint, his tired eyes now ablaze with a malevolent intensity. "You took it," he said, his voice a low, chilling whisper. "To be continued."